Oh, hello. Welcome to my closet where I record these things. This is me making another episode of Love People Use Things. The podcast's all about pornography, its effect on us individually, on us as couples, and on our society, and how to leave it behind for those who have recognized that it's not good for us. I created this series with my friend Matt Frad. He's a Catholic. I'm a non-religious individual. Today am going to be reading a few different letters that I've received. I receive a lot of letters from people who are telling me about their history with porn, how it's affected them, and usually how they've tried to quit or successfully quit, and how their lives have changed since. So stay tuned for that. You can either watch me make this episode here on my YouTube channel. Thank you, subscribers. Or you can go over to lovepeopleusethings.fm and download the audio of this one and all of our past and future episodes and listen to it wherever your fancy takes you. All right, let's get started making this thing, shall we? Well, boy, howdy. Welcome back to the Love People Use Things podcast. I'm your host, Noah Church. Your other host, Matt Frad, is currently, if I have timed this episode correctly, internet free right now for the month of August. You'll still hear episodes from him because he has pre-recorded them. And I am pre-recording these episodes as well because he is responsible for uploading them and he needed me to record them before the month of August started. So don't expect me to reference any current events. All right, today I've got an episode unlike any that I've done before on the Love People Use Things podcast. It's going to include some letters that I've received from rebooters who have experienced problems related to their own personal pornography use and have committed to giving up porn. They tell me all about the struggles they've encountered during that journey, what they've learned, what they've accomplished, and what benefits they have acquired now that they are porn-free. Given that these are raw and uncensored letters from people who have a problem with pornography, there will be some strong language in this episode, but I think it's important to be authentic and show you all what real recovery might look like. All right, we're going to start with the longest one, so buckle up and get ready for a journey. This rebooter says, "Hi Noah, I'm not entirely sure you'll read this, but I feel like this is a good outlet to let out everything I've experienced over the past 3 months, in addition to the rest of my journey. Well, not only am I reading it, I am reading it out loud for potentially thousands of people to hear, keeping it all anonymous, of course. But I make that clear that any of these letters that people send me, I may use for material in videos and or podcasts, and please specify if you don't want me to do so, and I will respect that. I hope that this might motivate some other people to stay on track and not give up, because I've had one hell of a roller coaster ride up till now. I've typed a lot, so a roadmap of what I'm going to talk about is as follows: background info, mental rationalizations for quitting, withdrawals, and lastly, looking forward. Background info. Probably started masturbating to porn around 12 years old. I'm 24 now. First through LimeWire, FrostWire, etc., until I discovered internet sites. Throughout middle school and high school, and hell, even through college, I would masturbate at least 3 times a day, every day. I also started smoking pot and cigarettes heavily, at least 2 times every day, at the same time. This double dose of dopamine had probably carved a deep rut in my brain. I can't even begin to explain how many women I've hurt just because I treated them as nothing more than sex objects. I can't begin to explain how porn killed all my motivation to succeed in life. I was always a bright student and never really got bad grades, but just the thought of how much more I could have done just kills me. All the passion I had just drained out of me, replaced by the single-minded thought of how I could get my rocks off. Totally had zero self-confidence. I had partners, but my relationships were marked by way too much sex and a lack of connection. They all commented on how they thought I was only in it for the sex, which was true. I didn't care about emotional connection. I just wanted to fulfill my porn-filled fantasies. Add too much weed, alcohol, and cigarettes to this mix, and you've got a really fucked up, mentally unstable person. Yep, that's me. This is something I hear so much, and it's something that is backed up by research over the past decades about how pornography, especially consumed consistently, trains us to think differently about relationships and sex, to divorce sex and physical intimacy from emotional intimacy, to think of partners as more means towards sexual satisfaction than individuals with whom we can have a beautiful, loving, bonding experience with. Even if you're conscious of pornography as a fantasy, as not real, as different from real life sex, it's still going to be training your subconscious. There's no way that it cannot when you're indulging in it consistently, especially daily over years and years of your life. For this individual, half of his life, since he was 12 till he's 24 now. He says, I had learned about the NoFap community in 2015. It's June 2018 right now, but was under the impression that masturbation was the problem, not porn. That all changed when I read Carrie Wilson's book, Your Brain on Porn, just a week before I graduated college in 2016. Excellent book. I can recommend it to you all. There's a new edition out as of late last year that has updated science and information, things that we've learned in the last few years. The audiobook version is also quite the treat because I am the narrator, so go check that out. I think you can get it for free if you sign up for Amazon Audible. It'll allow you to get one free book on your first month. It was this year that I gave up weed and alcohol. I had already quit cigs at this point. I used to think that... Oh, wait. Let me go back. Cut that. Edit that. For the next year, I tried unsuccessfully to give up porn, but I rationalized its use one way or another. It was this year that I gave up weed and alcohol. I had already quit cigs at this point. I used to think that the problem was just the weed, but after being sober for a number of months, I realized that it was the porn. It always has been. My first streak of 90 days, it was the first time I'd gone longer than 30 days, happened more than a year after I pledged to quit porn forever. See, he didn't give up. Over a year of making promises to himself and breaking those promises, he still didn't give up. And eventually he made it. He says, and even in that streak, I still slipped every week or so, pulling my favorite porn site for a few seconds before feeling guilty and shutting it down. I definitely edged every so often as well. Regardless, at the end, I felt great at how far I had come, but still pretty shitty because I was still in withdrawal. My first 90-day record was at the turn of the year, 2017 and 2018. I was about to start my master's degree in January, so I was pretty excited that I was recovering and wouldn't have a repeat of my pot and porn-filled undergrad. But I relapsed. Just 2 weeks after I started, I PMO'd, which led me to smoke pot, which led me to relapse. I had failed yet again and was doing pretty much the same shit I was doing in undergrad. In March 2018, I just looked back at the reasons I was able to achieve a 90-day streak last time and vowed to do the same again. I'll go over the reasons in a bit. And here I am, 94 days later, with just one slip. In case anyone is curious, I went hard mode, which means no masturbation or sexual contact. How I made it this far. Having failed so many times, I'm actually quite surprised I made it more than a couple of days or weeks. Porn has been an integral part of me, basically, since adolescence. What finally kicked it for me was realizing the terrible extent to which it had affected me, and sincerely wanting to quit. I quite literally ruminated over its destructive potential in my life for the first couple of weeks to convince myself that it was the right choice. I looked back to the reasons I was able to quit cigs and alcohol, which is nothing compared to HD porn, by the way. I had to build a firm resolve. I had to do it. I emphasized that I had to do it. No one else could do it for me. Unlike some other brave souls, and contrary to what Noah advised, I never told a single person. Not one. I was in this alone. I truly had to change by myself. I felt too ashamed to tell anyone. Anyways, I thought that sitting myself down and being honest were more helpful than watching all the benefits of no-fat videos on YouTube, although those were a great start. You pretty much have to do this multiple times in a day to really fight through the worst of it. It's a simple thing, but absolutely critical. Yeah, this gentleman was on his own journey, and he decided that he was going to do it alone and not tell anybody. Now, I'm not sure how he's doing now, if he's still on this same streak, or if he's had further struggles. But I do recommend that if you continue to find yourself struggling, that you think about opening up that door, allowing someone else in, being vulnerable with them, talking with someone, and letting down those walls. And it can really feel like weight just slipping off your shoulders when you do that, and someone recognizes you for who you really are and accepts you and loves you. It's a pretty awesome feeling. Withdrawals. Ah, yes, the dreaded withdrawals. Just the experience of moving through this nightmare of withdrawals by itself is almost enough to not want to relapse yet again. Because if you do, you're going to go through withdrawal again and again and again and again. And that is really a shitty way to exist. Anyways, I experienced pretty much everything people have reported on online platforms except the dead dick. I had this maybe for like a day or two. Aside from that, I've had migraines almost every day for 95% of my journey. They would strike any time of day, lasting for at least an hour, and sometimes as long as 8. Usually, I just have to suffer through them, but I've found that going outside and keeping my mind distracted definitely helps shorten their duration. Extremely poor sleep quality. For the first couple of weeks, I woke up feeling like I had barely slept, even though I'd pass out and sleep a full 8 hours. The dreams were vivid and intense, and usually had something to do with women, porn, or fearing that I relapsed. Yes, I dreamed that I would relapse, only to wake up and realize I hadn't. I occasionally had wet dreams, a lot during the first 2 weeks and much less afterwards, and it was the morning and day following that were the hardest for some reason. Yeah, I can't tell you how many dreams I had when I first started this journey about relapsing. You feel so bad in the dream, then I would wake up and just feel so relieved that it wasn't real. And it happened many, many times in the first few months of my journey. And it's pretty common, as I've spoken with others who have gone through the same thing. He says, I was very irritable. Common things like people clapping, sniffing, clearing their throat, etc. would get me so mad, I would burn up for no good reason. I became obsessive. I would think about events, things people had done, things I wanted to say, over and over on repeat. I could easily obsess over one thing for 3 or 4 hours. I still do this, though to a lesser extent. I know this is tied to porn somehow, because what I obsess about usually has something to do with an attractive woman. I was constantly in a depressed mood. This is still here. I felt like shit. I talked about myself, cried, wanted to isolate myself, lack of self-confidence, ate junk food, and had unexplained aches and pains throughout my body. Sometimes I had no feeling at all. I wished I felt something, but I didn't feel anything at all. Just meh. I had a total lack of focus. I just couldn't focus on the task at hand to save my life. Totally checked out. A space cadet. Looking forward. I still experience many of the symptoms I described above, albeit less often. More pronounced now is just feeling meh. Looking back, I feel an overwhelming sense of remorse. I have hope that I can overcome this addiction, but putting in the effort really sucks. All the superpowers people report have somewhat kicked in, but I think that's just our bodies becoming normal again. Physically, I feel great. No doubt about that. I can easily strike up a conversation and end it at will without feeling any awkwardness. All those benefits people report in terms of energy, confidence, and girls sensing you has come true, but mentally, things are still pretty desperate. I'm still haunted by all the terrible things I have done to people because of my addiction. Given how early I developed an addiction, I'm not really surprised. It will take a lot longer than 90 days to heal, I fear, but it's necessary. I'm looking forward to the point where I can say I've overcome myself. But to get there, I will need to stay committed and suffer through whatever it takes to get there. One thing is for sure. There is no way in hell I'm going to go through this shit again. And that's the end of his letter. As you can tell, this individual is still in his journey, as we all are throughout our lives, but he is still in the thick of it. He's gotten past 90 days with hardly any slips, and he is really starting to make good progress. But he is still not fully healed, and I don't think that he has found his new normal yet. He still describes feeling a lot of those withdrawal symptoms, and those should fade after long enough. You know it's probably withdrawal symptoms if they only come about after you quit porn and leave it behind. And in that case, they should all be temporary. And if they last longer than, well, honestly, I've seen them last as long as a year or even longer. But if you start to worry that it's something else besides withdrawal symptoms, then don't be afraid to go to a medical professional and make sure that it's nothing else going wrong. However, I hope that you, sir, continue along this path and never have to, as in your words, go through this shit again. What I really like about this man is that he never gives up. He always tries to learn from his mistakes and his slips and his falls, and he gets back up, he dusts himself off, and he keeps on moving forward. And he's not going to give up, I can tell. All right, our next rebooter sends a letter. He says, I've been addicted to porn since I was 12. Although I don't usually watch hardcore porn, if you consider anything you use for masturbatory purposes porn, I've been using it for a very long time. Mostly I've used social media pictures of girls I know and their friends. I know it's gross to sit and think perverted things about people you know and interact with, but that's what I often do. There's this one girl I know, absolutely beautiful, 10 out of 10, the most attractive person I've ever met in my life. She went away to college last year, and I haven't seen her in a while. But around this time, she started posting really sexy photos on her social media pages. It was incredible. You can't even imagine what it was like to see the most physically perfect girl I've ever met suddenly start showing herself off like that. I had been trying to quit masturbating ever since I started, but around this time, I basically gave up. I masturbated to her endlessly for months. I had all sorts of dirty fantasies about her, stuff I'm sure she wouldn't enjoy in real life. But I kind of justified it to myself because, she's posting all these sexy lingerie pics online. She must want people to jerk off to her. Now I think that they mostly post pictures like this for other girls to see, so that they can tell each other how good they look. But that's just my theory. Either way, I'm sure she wouldn't enjoy knowing the stuff I was thinking about her. Well, she's back in town, and I saw her again the other day. Noah, I was shocked by the experience. I've been watching your videos and other videos like yours, trying to convince myself to kick porn once and for all, trying to see women as people again. I had no idea how much of an effect porn had had on me, but I realized that I had completely forgotten she was a human being. When I was with her the other day, I was able to see her as a person, and she was a great person. I totally forgot how wonderful she is. She was wearing pretty revealing clothing, too, showing off a lot of legs and midriff. She even jumped on my back at one point, and I had my hands around her thighs. Might have been my first time touching a girl's bare thighs, now that I think about it. But even then, I thought nothing degrading or dirty about her. She was just my friend again. I've still got a long way to go, but I think I'm going to make it. This feels like a milestone. It feels so good to not be obsessed with sex. Really, we wouldn't even be compatible romantically, and so I'm not interested in sex with her. I'm just happy to be able to be around her and not see her as a sex object. I'm getting better, I know. I really want to be free for good. The thing I try to make myself remember, the thing I repeat to myself in the shower later is, I will never regret not masturbating. I'll never be sitting on my deathbed thinking, I wish I had given in to my urges to jerk off more often. Thank you for the letter, my friend, and for sharing your experience. It's truly amazing when we quit and start to realize how porn has trained us to dehumanize people, and to think of people as sexual objects. And it's really so much more fulfilling to rediscover the beauty in other people that's apart from their sexual attractiveness, and just be able to recognize the wonder of another cool human being and enjoy their company. All right, let's do one more letter, shall we? This gentleman says, Hi Noah, how's it going? Since 2013, I discovered your blog and got in the battle to overcome PMO. Well, I actually didn't have a website until 2014. Didn't even know what PIED or porn addiction was until 2014. So perhaps you discovered your brain on porn at that time, which is not my website, but an excellent resource. He says, "It's been a really rough journey with a lot of relapses and doubts. This year I committed to end this, and so I'm taking it as seriously as I can. Right now I am at day 84. Did some edging and saw some bad stuff here and there, but tried my best to go through each day. I've been struggling with other issues in my life as my career, being graduating in advertising. I always wanted to be an illustrator, and so I tried to pursue this in 2013, but something was missing. I was always too tired and scared to do most of the things I needed to do. I let PMO take over my days, made it ruin my relationship. I became lazy, frustrated, and depressed. I can remember the days I would just lay on my bed all day because I didn't want to live the life that was given to me. Something deep in me was wrong, and so I began my journey. I read your book, listened to podcasts and YouTube channels. Right now I know that PMO was not the problem, but the symptom, my very own mechanism of coping and escapism. And so I did my best to quit, but as most cases, I forgot to fill my life with good habits, and so this was a slow process. I was also in a toxic and codependent relationship that was harming me a lot. I knew this was another issue that I should fix. After years trying to make my studio launch, I was invited to work on an illustration studio, and oh boy, this was one of the best things that happened to me. You see, being a freelancer at home can be a really tough thing when you're a PMO addict, so I really needed to get out. The work was exhausting, but I loved it. I was working with illustration, getting a good salary, got some hours away from my relationship, and made some genuine friendships that last until this day. After some months, I came to the conclusion that I could not help my relationship anymore and should end it. It was hard. We were almost engaged after 4 years, but I realized I was too damaged, and so was she, to help and in order to help us out, we should split and get our shit together. I had to go back to my parents' house. At first this was strange, but then I could finally see that this was the best decision I made. I enrolled in a local gym and tried to get some good habits, as you always advised. Also got back into studies and noticed that most of my insecurities of my work were based on lack of understanding and lack of confidence. The studio had to fire some people because of some debt, and I was one of them. At first I got really pissed off. This was during the time I started dating my current girlfriend. I thought I was literally fucked, because how else would I be a successful illustrator? So I did a couple of freelance gigs here and there, but nothing big, nothing that I would really be proud of. January and February are bad months in my field of work. I knew that, and that I could not handle getting depressed about it. I had to start doing something about it. All these years I saved money for a moment like this, so this was time for me to finally commit to the person I wanted to become and take my studies damn serious. Since January, I've been studying and practicing for 5 to 10 hours per day, just skipping some weekends to spend with my girl and my family. I started to get some really nice progress, and on the last weeks, I decided to promote my work more. People started to respond pretty well, and some jobs are appearing. I can say from the bottom of my heart that finally, I'm starting to feel that I'm living the life I always wanted. Still, I won't settle down for anything. There's a lot to conquer, but the joy is already coming into my life little by little, without any type of escapism. Only the hard hours of work I'm putting in. Well, thank you for sharing that story, my friend. Truly, that is an important lesson to learn, that we can't just take out the negative from our lives and hope that everything will be fine. We have to replace those negative activities that we used to pour so much energy into with positive ones that make us feel good about how we spent our day, that leave us feeling satisfied and proud and growing each and every day into the person that we want to be. I'm really glad to see the progress that you've made, and hope you hear this, because your story, I'm sure, is going to help other people out there. it helped me more than words can describe when I first learned that I wasn't the only one struggling with these issues, and I could read and hear and watch others tell their own stories. It just made me feel like I had people around me. I wasn't alone anymore, and that made the burden so much lighter. That's why I decided to do the same thing for others, share my story, and try to provide answers where before answers were really hard to come by. So, if you're out there and you've got a story, and you think that others might be able to benefit from it, whether it's a story of success or struggle, your own story or a story of a loved one, then feel free to email it to me, write to me. I'd love to read it, and perhaps I'll share it in a future episode. You can email me at noah@coachchurch.com. Again, I'd love to hear from you. Hope you've all benefited from this episode. Let me know, too, if you have any feedback ever about the show. Go ahead and email me if you like to hear more of a certain type of content, or if you have questions you think would be good to build an episode around, or someone you'd like me to interview, someone you think would be provide good value to the show and the audience, then let me know. I'd love to hear. I thank you so much for being here with me today, and thank you, especially big thank you to our Patreon supporters who have pledged a certain amount of financial support to us each month. I'd like to invite any of you out there who have not pledged yet, but who are enjoying this content, really see the value in it, and for whom this show adds to your life, allows you to live a little bit better each day. Just consider going on over to our Patreon and checking out the options that we have there. I'd like to ask you to support us at $10 a month. At that level, you can get some pretty good goodies. Go over and check out what the current rewards are there. I believe one of them is a Love People Use Things t-shirt, which I am wearing right now. If you're watching this on my YouTube channel, Noah B.E. Church, you can see me showing it off at this very moment. You can also see how sweaty I am. If I've seemed a little distracted during this episode, it's because I'm just pouring sweat. It's about 100 degrees outside, and I am in my closet recording this because that's where I get the best audio quality, with this harsh, hot light shining down on my face. So if you'd like to see me sweat as I make these episodes, you can watch them on my YouTube channel. You can also find ways to work with me, as I am a recovery coach, on my website, addictedtointernetporn.com. All right, everybody, tune in next week for an episode from our good man, Matt Fradd, and I'll speak to you soon. Have a wonderful PMO-free day.